Welcome back to part 2 of the GTRL 2013 Australian Grand Prix. This will be the race highlights, so let's get right to it. Race 1 was 5 laps with no pit stop required. Paul Sanders jumps the start, and he's going to get a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for that one. Scott Williamson and Jay Lee also jumped the start following Paul, and both received drive-throughs. Here we are on board with Patrick Rawitz for the start. It looked like we were going to get off to a clean start, but then suddenly Rob Partridge in the HRT and Mark Sakawiak in the Sauber get together in turn 3. Battle for 4th place here. Rob Cobb gets a run on Dave Flick coming out of the exit of turn 12. He's got the inside line coming up on 13, which is a good place to pass. Holds the inside line. Dave makes a little mistake here, goes off, and it looks like Rob Cobb's going to hold on to that position. At the end of lap 1, we see Scott Williamson coming in to take his drive-through penalty. He would come back out in 5th place. Starting on lap 2, Paul Sanders coming to the line, still 1st place, Jay Lee in 2nd place. However, Paul still had his 10-second stop and go, and Jay still had to do his drive-through. Going into lap 2, and Patrick Rawitz is putting some pressure on Rob Cobb for a 3rd position. Mark Sakawiak coming out of the pits after getting his damage repaired from the first lap's incident. Lap 2 sees Paul Sanders and Jay Lee coming into the pits to serve their penalties for the jump start. This would hand the lead off to Rob Cobb, and Patrick Rawitz would be in 2nd place. Jay Lee would make it out of the pits and would come back in 3rd place. Trouble in turn 3 again. This time it's Scott Williamson in the Toro Rosso and Dave Flick in the Williams. Later on in lap 3, more trouble. On board with Paul Sanders, he's all over the back of Scott Williamson in the Toro Rosso. Williamson loose off 12, a heavy contact into the wall. And that ended Scott's first race. On board with Jay Lee, who almost gets into the back of the Ferrari going into turn 1. Paul Sanders is very busy after his 10-second stop-and-go penalty. Here he is working against Dave Flick for 4th place. Going into the last lap, and it's looking like Rob Cobb has this one under control. A last lap turn 12 incident took Rob Partridge's HRT out of the race. After an early stop and go penalty, Paul Sanders was having a great run, looking like he was going to still have a real strong finish, and he runs out of gas 2 corners short of the finish line. Tough day for Paul. And here comes Rob Cobb around to take the victory at the GTRL Australian Grand Prix. And there he goes. Second place would be Jay Lee in the Lotus. And third place would be Patrick Rawitz in the Ferrari. And finally we have Dave Flick was the last car running in fourth place. To round out the rest of the race 1 field, we had Paul Sanders in 5th, Rob Partridge in 6th, Scott Williamson came in 7th, and Mark Sadkowiak came in 8th place. And that'll conclude the video highlights. Let's take a look at the results from the other racing from the evening. The second race of the evening was another 5-lapper, and that would see Rob Cobb with another win. Paul Sanders and Jay Lee would round out the podium. Scott Williams in 4th place, Patrick Rawitz in 5th place, Mark Sadkowiak in 6th, Rob Partridge in 7th, and Dave Flick in 8th place. The third race of the night was a 10-lapper. That was won by Jay Lee, Rob Cobb in 2nd, and Patrick Rawitz rounded out that podium. Mark Sadkowiak came in 4th, Dave Flick 5th, Scott Williamson in 6th, Paul Sanders in 7th, and Rob Partridge in 8th place. The last race of the night was won by Rob Cobb. That was a 15-lapper. Second place Jay Lee. Scott Williamson took the 3rd spot on the podium. Patrick Rawitz in 4th place, Mark Sadkowiak in 5th place, Dave Flick in 6th, Paul Sanders in 7th, and Rob Partridge in 8th place. Next week we'll be at the Sepang International Circuit for the Malaysian Grand Prix, and I hope you can join us for that one. If you think you might like to join us in some racing, you can get a hold of us at GTRL.net. And we accept all levels in this particular series. We also have a V8 series, it's an all-level series, ARCA Cars, which is an intermediate and advanced series, and ARCA Trucks, which is also intermediate and advanced series. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.